Confidence is about how you see yourself. Welcome to the Uniquely Confident Podcast. Positive energy and good vibrations from me to you. This is RJD, the Imperfect Gentleman. And yes, this is another episode of the Uniquely Confident Podcast. I am super excited on this day because I have one of my people that I've been admiring and watching from a distance, that we finally met and have her on the platform today. But you guys know, before we do everything, we must represent and talk to the Father and pay these bills right here, keep the lights on. So with that being said, Father, we thank you for another day. Thank you for another second, another hour, another moment, just to say thank you, because we understand that every moment in this life is so precious and we don't take it for granted at all. So right now we say thank you for the moment to say thank you. We thank you for life, health, and strength. And we also say thank you for this moment so we can go across these airwaves and help somebody in a special way and deliver some value to them in a space where they need it most. So right now, God, I ask you for your grace and your presence to go do these things. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen. Now, to keep the lights on in this place so they don't cut our lights off, the paid sponsors of this beautiful podcast. Check this out. My body has been going through a phenomenal transformation over the last 3 months. I went from a dad bod to this pretty sexy under his clothes now. But listen, check this out. It only happened because I went to these guys over at Quantum Fitness. Let me tell you, there's nothing too much nice about them. They really get on my nerves, but they have really quality work. And they put you through phenomenal, yet rigorous training, but it has phenomenal, outstanding results. Only been 3 months, and my body is really transformed. So listen, if you use the word unique and you go over there and you tell them I sent you, 20% off on any of his products. He didn't want to do that because I pushed him a little bit and nudged him a little bit because the guy is huge. He budged. So check this out. Go over there and tell him Uniquely Confident Podcast sent you. Give me 20% off. Now, the next paid sponsor of this beautiful podcast, once again, I'm not wearing the shirt today. For some reason, we're still doing laundry. We have 2 kids. Don't ask. I'm always going to be sitting in front of one of the products she created. So for Cassie's Classic Design, guys, any kind of print needs you need, whether it be on a sign, a hat, cup, shirt, t-shirt, hat, you name it. I said that twice. Anyway, you can have it designed over at Cassie's Classic Designs. All right. Dope prices. Pretty much, she works with anybody for any kind of needs, whether it be parties, graduations, you name it. Get at her directly at cassiesclassicdesign@gmail.com. Now listen, without further ado, because I'm super excited, I got goosebumps, and I'm ready for this conversation. Listen, wherever you are, put your phone down and give her a warm welcome. And welcome, Miss Sarah. I'm not even going to try to say her last name because I always mess it up in my head. So Queen, welcome to the platform.
What's up? I'm so grateful and honored and excited to be here. Thank you.
Oh man, this is dope. I'm so glad that you could be here with us right now because I understand and know that time is valuable. So I appreciate you for allowing us to have some of your time right now on this great evening. So thank you once again. So do me a favor right now. People know you, but whoever might be on that rock that don't know, please let them know who you are and what you do, Queen.
All right, awesome. What's up, y'all? My name is Sarah Fontenot. I am a serial entrepreneur, and I actually started back in 10 years ago in multi-level marketing. For sure. And I built to the top 1.6% of this company. But just like building any business or anything, there were trials and tribulations and struggles and obstacles and challenges that came up in my way. And what I noticed was people started asking me all the time, Sarah, how are you so strong? Or how do you get through this? Or how do you get through that? And I was like, I'm not that strong. And I realized, 1, that I have an unwavering faith. 2, that oftentimes if you're a new entrepreneur and you're like, what do I do? People are probably asking you right now about what you're good at because they see it before you do sometimes. Right. And number 3, that led me into doing high ticket one-on-one coaching. Well, first one-on-one coaching and then high ticket one-on-one coaching. I started a mindset motivation t-shirt line. I've had the opportunity to speak all over the world. I no longer do network marketing. I got heavy into investing. I just launched an audiobook. There's so many different really cool things, but really and truly, none of my achievements matter so much as who I am because I feel like my heart work, like,
Mhm.
the tools, the strategy,
Yes.
the lessons, those things are all great. That's the hard work. But my heart work is to help people help themselves get out of their own way. And
Yes.
sometimes we get confused and think that, worthiness is this thing that you have to earn or achieve, or you have to look a certain way or dress a certain way. When the reality of it is, worthiness is your birthright. And
Mhm.
so, my intention for us having this conversation today is just for anybody that hears the sound of our voice today as we banter back and forth, for them to know that you get to choose whether or not it's great or it's awful, whatever you may be going through, whatever circumstance or situation, you get to choose whether you stay there, because worthiness is your birthright too. And we all deserve all things great and in abundance. So that's a little bit of who I am. It's a long, long, long list, but I am just so honored and grateful to be here with you today.
Please don't apologize for that, because it is giving me life right now. Because, seriously, the choice that we have, right? It's the choice that we have. You have a choice. And
Yes.
like, when I see people, like people who live or on the street and who are down on hard times, it's like, I get what circumstances gave you, but you have a choice to continue to keep fighting.
Yes.
Don't let it overpower you. Don't let it take you from where off of your rock. And
Oh,
like, all I want to do sometimes is just, you can't obviously pay everybody through their situation. I just want to say, like, yo, you have an opportunity. Like, if you're still breathing, right? If we're still here, we have an opportunity.
that's it.
Oh my
That
goodness.
is it.
This is so good. So check this out. My first question about I'm obviously, the people know I'm a character and confidence building coach. So what I always want to do is really help the people out there who struggle with their confidence, right?
Yes.
So give the people a little backstory about you, and because me the reason why I follow you, because you exude a confidence. Like, you
Mm.
just you have a certain grace about you that just has this aura of confidence. Because, and then, to me, I know that in order to have that, it comes from someplace,
Oh, yeah,
right?
buddy.
Like, I named the podcast Uniquely Confident because we all are uniquely confident in a certain way, and it all comes from a certain place. So please tell the people what makes you uniquely you.
Well, oh, that's such a loaded question. But if I were to rewind and really truly think about the truth of society, it really goes back into indoctrination in society, period.
Mm,
And I would say we are all duped from our childhood, because so often you hear people ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be? And that's all good and great, except for what is connected to achievement, whereas who is connected to fulfillment.
wow.
And so oftentimes I feel like one of the main reasons why people aren't confident in who they are, number one, is because they spend all this time trying to make sure to check all the boxes off the list and then wonder why they feel empty, wonder why something is missing, right?
Mhm.
And so for me, I grew up in Regina. Yeah, I said it right. Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada, right? I'm a Canadian.
Yeah,
And
look
and
this up. Wait, who?
look, right, it's north of North Dakota and Montana. I'm a small town Canadian girl. And my bringing up, like inside of coming up as a child, I thought the only ways to be successful were doctor, lawyer, engineer, or entertainment.
Right,
And it's mind blowing. Like,
right.
I knew I couldn't be a doctor because blood makes me queasy. Like, oh, it's a wrap for me.
Both my kids. Swear to God.
Yeah, I'm like, oh God, it's over. It's over. Like, oh, you getting sick? Oh, we getting sick together. That's
Oh,
what
you
just
better
happened.
believe it. You better not go up. I'm joining you.
Right, period.
I'm not holding
So
your hair.
yeah, that's out. That was out. I could not be a doctor. I didn't want to be an engineer because my mom is actually an engineer, and I was like, I don't want to do that. And then I was like, well, I could be a lawyer. But then for me, my mom has always taught, and my dad too. But my mom is she's my superhero. So we hear people different based on
Right,
how
right.
we relate to them.
Of
And so
course.
I heard my mom a little bit different when she always used to say, count the costs. Right. We've heard this somewhere else. Count the costs. One of my favorite books says count the costs. Right.
I believe it.
And so when I count the costs of what it costs to become a lawyer, I'm not interested in spending years studying things I'm not interested in.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to do that. So I was like, I got some fire debate skills, but this is not just a debating
Right.
career, talk to
It's a
some
five
lawyers.
minutes.
Yeah, not it, right? So then I was like, entertainment. I love to act, sing, and dance. I'm just going to go. And so I moved to Los Angeles by myself to pursue acting. So first and foremost, I'm a
Yeah,
cliche.
right.
Let's
No,
get that out
no,
the way.
no, but like, forget the cliche part, because let me tell you, I made a biggest move in my life is leaving New York and coming down to South Florida, and I did that with someone. So for you to pick up and leave and go somewhere else to pursue your dreams by yourself, Queen, I don't take that lightly. That's
Thank you.
amazing. You are brave.
Thank you. And it was hard. There were literally, and I tell this part as my story now, because for those people that are listening, if you're struggling, if you're going through something, if you're crying, like there were nights I would cry myself to sleep for like days at a time. There were like, and then I'd pause, have a few good nights but I'd be smiling the next day, showing up powerfully, wondering where my rent was going to come from, calling my mom saying, can you please help me put gas in my car, putting $3 on pump 5, not because I was in a rush, but because that's all the change that I could find inside of my couch and around my house. And so what I knew, and inside of building my confidence and building my character, what I knew is that my current circumstance and situation was not where I was always going to be. And so there are so many parts of my story where I knew that I didn't want to stay where I was at. And so circle of influence matters. Who is telling you, who are you listening to matters. And sometimes, guys, you don't need to listen to yourself, because you will psych yourself out. So you got to get around the person that's going to speak some life into you, right? But, I have so many stories, but one that's really resonating right now is when I moved here, I had this car that used to squeak on every block, right? It was like, I hated it so much. Her name was Get because she was ghetto. I could not stand that car.
Come on, we love Get.
Get was awful. The gas gauge pointed downward. I had to count kilometers because it was a Canadian car. I ran out of gas so many times. There was no AC. Like, it was just literally all bad, right? Just all bad. Man. But then my car crashed itself on the freeway, right? Don't ask me no questions. That's just how it happened.
Right.
My car broke down. I'm still here. I'm still alive. That's all that matters. And so what's crazy? Right. We don't even need to get into that. Car that was being ghetto.
She did. Right.
Right. Just loud enough. Just like, get out of here, car. Okay. So sorry, I digress. I love it. I say all of that to say that, when I was first starting inside of my entrepreneurial journey, my mentor was in Torrance, California, and I was living in Hollywood, California, and I was driving to get mentored every day, 5 to 6 days a week, while I was struggling to put gas in my car. On one of those trips, my car crashed itself. And so now I had a choice, but I knew that success does not come to me, that I have to go to it. And that's no different for any other person. And so I could choose, like, maybe this is God saying, you're just not supposed to do this. No, maybe this is God saying, how bad do you really want it?
Right.
And so I was taking 2 buses and a train, 2.5 hours one way, 3 hours back, just so I could get around success, just so I could get around people that would speak life into me. Because even though my mom, who is my superhero, she's my role model, I look up more to her than I think probably anyone, because I've seen her rise above and be consistent and resilient and beautiful and poised and graceful. And so when I think about how do I want to be, who do I want to be, it's like, if I'm a fraction of her, sheesh, take money out the equation, like who I am, And so my mom used to be like, baby, get a real job. Like when your ride or die people are telling you not to do this, you've got to get around the people who pull the soldier out of you. You've got to get around those people, because your family and the people that don't understand, they're going to be like, oh man, this is hard. This is really hard. Like, this is for them over there. You don't need to do that. Hey, you know what? I think that's crazy. You shouldn't give that a try. No, you've got to get around the people that say, you know what? This is hard, but what are we going to do about it?
Right.
This is hard, but what's the exit strategy? And so inside of that, being around the right people, being so hell-bent in my belief on myself, knowing that I didn't want the life from the people that were trying to give me advice, didn't want it.
Right.
I didn't want it. So I was like, you know what? I know what your life looks like if I try it your way. Let me see what happens if I try it my way. And I was hell-bent, and there were a lot of really hard nights. It's like I just kept moving more and more south in LA. There were 2 years, 2.5, almost 3 years that I lived with my great aunt. She was my roommate. She let me rent a room out for her. I was struggling to pay $200 a month, and she had like 4-inch thick shag blue rug. It's still in there too. That lady, she's so dope. I'm so grateful for her. But let me tell you.
I love it. And it feels good to your feet, right? It feels good.
It sure did. It was so warm. I never had cold feet in the morning, ever.
Talk about it. It's valuable.
Yes.
Now you said something that really resonated with me, and I really wanted to address it. And you said the time that you had that you couldn't afford $200 to pay per month, right? Let's talk about that mindset, right? When you was in that space, the people around you, they were just talking to the person that they knew you were. They weren't addressing the person that you currently were at that time. And that's what happens around us, that we stay around people that know us where we are currently and can't see our future. They're not trying to hold us back, but they're only speaking to the person that they see in front of them.
Yes.
And I've learned that too, because even my own mother, like the other day when I told her I was venturing out and I quit my job, Mom, and I'm really doing this coaching thing. And she was like, "Oh, okay. Well, you should look for another job."
Oh.
I was like, "Wait a minute. Did you not just hear me say it? Like, did you?" I said that I exited. I have this is making me money, and this is making me more money than my job.
Yep.
You didn't hear that? But she's only come from a place where she can protect from, right? Because all of our brains are designed to protect us. So if our parents' brain is protect them, naturally they want to protect us.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you about also too. You said the thoughts that we're thinking. Those are not really our thoughts. But I wanted to ask you, how did you get past those? How did you get past those negative thoughts that were literally ringing out and telling you the truth about your current situation?
Yeah. So for me, when it comes to that, it comes down to belief for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you hear a lot of gurus that say, you got to believe in yourself. You got to believe, but like how? Like when people used to tell me, declare these big things. And it's like, okay, I hear you. You're really inspiring, but like, what do I do now? Like I'm just inspired to do nothing. Right. Right. Like,
I'm inspired to look at my zeros in my account.
Like I can't pay $200 and you talking about you living on yachts and driving Rolls Royces and stuff. Like that doesn't help me,
Right.
So what I realized, and really and truly, the way that I've built my businesses is through me failing so much. Like, I mean, I've done everything the wrong way the most amount of times. And because I'm also hard-headed, right? So I'm like, I got to figure it out for myself sometimes. I am coachable, but sometimes you just got to learn things the hard way.
What's your birthday really quick?
July 2nd. I'm a Cancer.
Okay. I'm a Libra.
Oh, okay.
Dope.
Got it. Are you the same?
Huh?
You're the same?
Very much. That's what I'm like, yo, this is too much alike right now.
Yes, it's the mindset. That's what it is.
Seriously.
But I realized that inside of everything, that belief is an action word. And so for me, it comes down into 5 actual steps, right? Number 1 is the thought, which your thoughts create your awareness. Your awareness creates your evaluation. Your evaluation creates your action, and your action creates your progress. So what does that mean? It means if you think about it enough, right? You put the pictures on the wall, you have it on your screensaver, you put the, say your I ams in the morning, you see it and you visualize it. The more that you think about it, and I know that you know this, you're literally creating a neurological pathway inside of your brain. So I see in pictures, right? What that means to me is our brain is like a cornfield. If you were to run through a cornfield one time, no one would ever know. Right. If you were to drive through a cornfield one time, okay, you would see, but over time, it would just go right back to how it used to be, right? Corn would still come back, it'd grow, it'd overgrow, whatever. Absolutely. If you continue to drive that same exact pathway.
Right.
Every single day. Not only will you see that somebody's been in the cornfield, but also corn won't be able to grow there any longer.
Right.
And so what that means is when you are driving those thoughts every single day, it just makes it easier for fear and doubt and negative opinions and judgment and the naysayers. They don't get to grow there any longer because you've created your pathway, right? And so when you think about it enough, right, what happens is it starts to create that awareness. Now, again, I see in pictures. So if you could imagine a radar, or a map, let's say as old as you are today, you've only ever seen a map of the United States, right? As old as you are today, that's all that you know. That's all they taught you in school. That's all that you've ever seen. So you start getting around these people and they're like, oh yeah, I was in Japan. And it's like, whoa, Japan. First of all, what is that? Like, I don't even know. We don't even know about that, right?
Seriously.
So 2 parts to this. Number 1, if you now are an entrepreneur and sometimes the people, like you said, the people that love you the most, sometimes they support you the least. And
Right.
it's not because they don't love you. It's
Right.
because they're trying to keep you safe in who you are. And sometimes it comes out in the most jacked up, most offensive, just disrespectful ways. But truly, the root of it is they're trying to protect you, right?
Right.
So that's the first part of that awareness. The second part is when you're aware of it and you've expanded that map of like, oh, I know that there's more. Now you can evaluate. Okay, I'm in Los Angeles, California. I want to get to Japan. Now, I don't know if I got to hitchhike. I don't know if your journey means you get to hitchhike, ride a bike, your car breaks down. Maybe you're the person that knows a person with a private jet. Right. Every single person's journey looks different. Right. But now that I know where I want to go, you can reverse engineer that goal. So as an example, I love using numbers because I feel like they're really easy to measure. If your goal is to make $100,000 a year, but we'll get to that after. $100,000 a year is only $8,333 per month, right, which is only $277 a day. First of all, do you know your ratios? Out of 10, how many people can you close? Right. The second part of it, how many people do you need to expose your product or service to in order to consistently make $277? So now you know it's less scary. And one thing I do want to say, and I promise I'm gonna wrap it up really quick here.
Nah, please don't. I'm eating it up. So
okay.
They gotta eat something. I'm eating this up right now.
Thank you. But okay, so then I will say that, sometimes like when I was starting, oh my gosh, when I was starting and I couldn't afford to pay my rent and my lights were shut off, like be the light when your lights are shut off, like I'm feeling real dark right now, okay? Right. I'm feeling real dark right now. But I say that to say that one of the most powerful things any of us can ever do, and my entire life is a reflection of this, I so passionately believe in it, is whatever you feel the most passionate about is what you attract. And you'll notice that most people, they talk about how stressed they are. They talk about how angry or upset they are. They talk about their pains and their aches. They talk about their job again and again and again. And it's no wonder why that cycle continues to perpetuate itself, right? We're actually continuing on the hell that we don't want to live in, which is a whole other conversation. I say all of that to say, if you don't feel good about the things that you're declaring, like when I couldn't afford to pay my light bill, saying I'm a 6-figure earner or I am making $100,000 a year, I would have felt like a fraud. And because I don't feel good, I would have pushed it away, right? So instead of saying I am big goal, feel free to insert your big goal here. Try saying I am becoming the kind of person who. I am becoming the kind of person who can expose their product to blank amount of people per day. I am becoming the kind of person who is not going to be shut down by rejection. I am becoming the kind of person who can keep promises to themselves. I am becoming the kind of person who, and what happens is you start to become the person that's in alignment with the big goal, taking daily actions in the little goals, which pulls the big goal closer to you, right? That allows you to get into number 4, which is that action. Action is always going to give you a result. It's always going to give you a progress, right? Which is number 5, which gives you a result, a progression, which elevates your belief. If you got 3 clients in a month last month, but this month it's the 3rd day in the month and you're already at 5, it's like, ooh, let me see what else I could do.
Right.
Ooh, let me see how much I could get. And that in itself is going to build your belief. It's going to build your confidence. It's going to build that worthiness, right? So nothing creates confidence like getting a result and taking action.
Yo, yo, this is crazy because I feel like now I have to like keep this in the vault and charge this. Like, this is so dope because what you just did for real was you broke somebody's barriers. Because like, and it's so crazy because a lot of times when I'm coaching my guys, it's like, you know, as a coach, you can't tell someone these things. You can't just say, you know what, here is what it is, because it won't affect them. You have to ask them questions. And sometimes I watch them just circle around and it breaks my heart because I want them to get it right now. But it's like the breakthrough of them understanding the process, what you just broke down, of just being able to get out of the mental war that they're in currently. And just like you said, not because let me tell you, you spoke to me directly when you said you're lying to yourself and it makes you feel bad, so you push it away. That's exactly what I felt like for so many years. I was definitely in the marketing space, but nowhere near like you. I was never good at it because my confidence was terrible at that point because I didn't believe it. Like, I'm watching all these dudes, big cars, big money, big rings coming around, and they're talking this big life. And here I am going back to like a apartment that I'm literally about to get kicked out of.
Right.
I'm stealing Walmart formula for my children. Like, I'm like, wait a minute. Like, it doesn't make sense to even dream that way because I feel like it's a waste of time.
Right.
But if you said, like you said, just I'm working on becoming that.
Yes.
That gives you power in itself. Like,
yes.
just I'm becoming, because that you're not declaring where you are. And it's okay with noticing and identifying where you are. Nothing wrong with that. But you declaring about where you're going.
Yes.
Power in itself right there. So if you catch this podcast, listen, rewind it and watch it again. I know I am. When this is all over, I'm going back and turn this one from piece to piece. So now my question to you is, right? So every individual, right, has insecurities. We all have them, right? How do you fight yours so they don't affect you?
Oh, that's such a loaded question too. First and foremost, one of the things that I practice is I take 5 minutes, right? Whether it's good or whether it's bad. If it's excruciatingly awful, life is absolutely just falling apart, I'll take 24 hours to just cry, scream, whatever it needs to be. But that doesn't happen very often. Whether it's good or it's bad, and it allows me not to get stuck or paralyzed in analysis paralysis. Because what I've realized inside of my life is, number 1, I have made the decision to trust the unfolding, whatever it may be, whether it be good or whether it be bad. And that I know that faith and fear both require us to believe in something that hasn't happened yet. So I refuse to believe in something that's going to cripple me. I refuse to believe in something that's going to stop. Like, no, put that chest up, shoulders down, chin up. Like you,
right.
You must have forgot, you know? And so one of the ways that I do this is 2 things. Number 1, I understand, like, when they say fear doesn't exist, again, I'm like one of those people that I break down. I want to break it down to the most simple. How can this make sense for me? Yes. And I feel like there's a lot of people that are like, well, I see in pictures too, or I this or I that. And I'm like, okay, so there's a method to this madness. And so when it comes to fear, what I've realized is insecurity is rooted in fear. Right? It's just a level of, I'm afraid they won't like me, or maybe they'll think I'm not good enough, or maybe they'll this, or maybe they'll that. And insecurity is nothing more than assumed worst case scenario, continuing on and on and on again. So as an example, let's say
mic drop. What is insecurity again?
It's assumed worst case scenario.
Wow.
like if, and
Damn.
think about it, like let's say, like this is what the human brain does. And again, we're human, and sometimes it's harder to shake off the humanity than other times.
Facts.
But let's say you get your dream job, right? And for whatever reason, the power goes out in your house, your cell phone is dead, your alarm doesn't go off. And so now you're going to be late. So you jump out of bed and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be late. And then that turns into, oh my God, I'm going to be late. Everyone's going to see me be late. And then that turns into, oh my goodness, I'm late. Everyone's going to see me be late. I'm going to get fired. And then that turns into, oh my God, I'm going to be late. Everyone's going to see me be late. I'm going to get fired. How am I going to pay my rent? Oh my God, I'm late. Everyone's going to see me be late. I'm going to get fired. Like, how am I going to pay my rent? I am homeless.
Right.
And now, in a matter of 30 seconds, our worst case assumed scenario, and of course, that's definitely extreme, but that's what we do.
Yes.
Negativity is so natural. So we have to be positive on purpose. And so for me, I knew when it comes to like insecurities, I will take 5 minutes. I get 5 minutes. Okay, Sarah, you don't feel like you deserve to be in this room? Nope, worthiness is my birthright. I was built for this. And so what I do, the action that I do, is I funnel everything through my life mantras. So life mantras for me, they're like soldered glasses onto my face that only I know exist. And it changes the way that I look at things. So one of the things, like I said in the beginning, when I started entrepreneurship, my friend had sponsored me into this company, but she didn't know how to do the business. And she also didn't need to do the business because she had money. She came from money. She didn't need it. Like I needed money. She was doing this for fun.
Right.
I didn't have that opportunity. I'm
Right.
like, yo, look here, I'm struggling. So she used to say to me all the time, like, oh, Sarah, like, it doesn't have to be this hard. You don't have to struggle like this. You don't have to. And I
you looking at her like, yo, are you serious?
Right. My mind was so blown. Like, you don't know my life. Okay.
Right.
You don't have a clue. I don't have the option to just sit and do nothing, So I say all of that to say that when I first started inside of entrepreneurship, I've quickly learned that I'm going to feel insecure. I'm going to fail. I'm going to mess it up. I'm going to whatever it may be. And I'm going to funnel all of those things through my life mantras. This is all a part of my story. When she used to say, this is hard, I'd be like, this is all a part of my story. Ooh, this is all a part of my story. When things get hard, ooh, this is all a part of my story. Oh God, this is all part of my story. And so there was that. And then there was that things go wrong so that life can go right. I was built for this. Like sometimes you just got to look at things differently. When something comes my way, adversity comes my way, I was built for this. This is all a part of my story. And now I have the opportunity to inspire someone else that didn't think they could get through it. I have the opportunity to say, you know what? I know this is hard, but you can do this. What's your exit strategy? Because again, you get to choose. You get to choose whether you break or whether you break through. No one can make that decision for you. So that's what I do. Of course, I have insecurities, but I take 5 minutes, good or bad, celebrate or not. And then I get back into whatever it is that I'm into.
Yo, Sarah. I'm sitting over here. Let me tell you, I don't even, I'm going to be very honest, transparent. I don't really get too excited about information, right? But you give information with such passion that you have no other choice but to get so excited about it. I'm sitting here right now because the reason I'm doing this podcast is really a selfish reason, right? I'm taking from my man Dave Shands, a mentor.
Yes.
Shout out to the homie, right?
Yep.
His podcast is literally because he wants to know. So this podcast is literally because I want to know to add it to my confidence. Like, I really want to understand everyone's level of confidence, where they get it from, and why they're so confident, or the lack thereof, right? And I want to know why, how, and what does it have done for you? Like, what has your confidence done for you in your career as of late? Like right now, how has your confidence affected your career?
It's not even just my career, it's my relationships. Platonic and romantic.
Yes.
It's what I attract inside of my life. Look, everything in our life is feedback for what we believe we deserve. And sometimes that's a really hard pill to swallow.
Sarah,
But
you gonna keep doing that? You gonna keep dropping bombs like that, and then they like keep just cool, boom, drop that bomb like that. Oh, it's okay. I'm gonna keep going. What?
truly,
Okay.
truly, our life is feedback. And I think that it comes back to understanding that our life, our like literally we were born into worthiness of all things great and in abundance.
Right.
Truly. And even I could get biblical here. Take it straight to the Bible. The book of Genesis says God took clay, brought the clay to his mouth, and blew life into it. I'm guessing that the life wasn't skin and muscle. I'm guessing that the life was spirit.
Right.
And spirit is forever. Now, I don't believe personally that God is in pieces, right? I don't believe God put a piece of him. And if this is where we all come from, then that same God is in every single one of us.
Every last one of us.
If I don't put limits on God, who is infinite, who everything is possible for, then why on God's green earth would I limit myself? Because God is in me. And that's just my opinion. And some people might get offended, and you know what? It's okay.
No, but they won't get offended on this podcast, Sarah, because I believe and understand not only who you are, but
whose you are. Come on. Right? Yes.
It's not because it's not none of our goodness. And this is what I explain to every last person that I come in contact, because Sarah, what they do is they look at us now and they talk about us now.
Oh,
if
man.
you knew the person before the now, right? If you knew the real backstory, you would actually reverence me a little differently, because
period.
The story that comes with this gentleman, and I'm telling you, with this queen right here, it makes us who we are now, right? We're only the accumulative sum of everything we've been through. That's all we truly are.
Yeah.
But man, just to be able to sit here and hear you and to know that your story is so impactful, and it's caused you to have more confidence now. It gives me more confidence, because it's like, yo, I can tap back into that story. It gives me more time to say, you know what? Practice what you preach. If she's going back into her receipts to remember what's going on with her, you got to tap into your receipts.
Yes.
And remember where you come from.
Yes. And I think too, one thing to recognize, even what you said, I used to be 38 pounds heavier. I had the worst acne because I couldn't afford to eat healthy. So my skin was breaking out like crazy. I had like cystic acne under my skin. My bank account, I was broke in my bank account, not in my spirit. Right, but I there are so many different things. But again, our current circumstance or situation is not who we are. Right. We get to choose if that's our finished product, because this is like, confidence is a muscle. You have to work at it.
Yes.
I'm confident now because I've been through everything. And I know that whatever comes my way, I was built for this, and what's crazy to me is on your journey, and this actually just recently happened for me. It was my 33rd. I just turned 33 in July. Jesus' birthday. Let's get it. Special number. And I got all my girlfriends to come here. We did a private jet to Vegas and just all types of really cool stuff.
I was definitely living vicariously. I was like, oh, she's turning up. They are turning up.
We had so much fun. But the crazy part is, I have a very small circle. I mean, very small. It's like a period. There's literally like 8 people. It's so small. It is so small, but it's so high in quality. Right. And one of the people that I deem as like family to me had said, I was like, are you going to come? This, that, and the other. And everyone is in like different financial brackets. Right. And I was like, are you going to come? This is what it looks like. You don't have to pay for just like nothing. And she was like, oh girl, that's because you have that rich life. And I was like, stop playing. We both rich. Like, come on. She's like, no, but you wealthy. Okay. Which is true. However, what does that have to do with anything? Right. And so I say that to say that as you progress on your journey, and as you become better, and as you shed the old layers of you that don't serve you any longer, people are going to say things that might make you feel some type of way. And one of the things that was said to me was, you literally have no responsibilities. Why? Because I make more money?
That you have more responsibilities.
I have no responsibilities.
You know what it is? You know, Sarah, that person has never heard Biggie Smalls. Like they've never heard More Money, More Problems. They haven't.
These are facts. No, I literally look. I'm like, I believe if you tell more than 3 people about what you're going through, you don't want a solution, you want to complain, right? That's like my thing.
Church.
I called my mama. I called my sister. I told my man. I was like, I don't even understand. Am I crazy? Am I this? Am I that? Like what? No responsibility. Oh, I was so offended in that moment. I
You
took
was
5
all in it.
minutes though. I
Right,
took 5
right.
minutes with each person. And then I was like, okay, I'm officially releasing this, because at the root of it, what I've also learned is it has nothing to do with me.
Right.
How people receive you and your success has
Right.
nothing to do with you.
Right.
It has to do with how they see themselves and where they feel uncomfortable knowing they could be doing the same thing you're doing.
Right.
But are not.
The mirror effect. Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yo, listen. I'm sitting here elated because I didn't expect this conversation to go this way, but I'm so glad it did because it's literally going to set somebody free, Sarah. Like one thing I understand is that it never is never a big boom, right? When there's a major change in someone's life, it's always that one minute thing or one point that changes something. And we always look for this big thing to happen, but it's always that one little note that makes you think and reflect and say, you know what, there's a shift that has to happen. And then with the shift is a decision. And like shout out to Myron Golden, phenomenal gentleman. He explained the decision, and it really blew my mind. So the decision is something has to be cut off, right? So when you decide something, it's not a choice. It's not you're not saying I'm gonna do this or this. Decide, that means something has to be cut off and it no longer exists.
Yeah.
So when you decide that you're no longer going to be who you are right now currently, and you're going to work towards something, that's the most powerful point there is.
Yes.
And I think we overlook that because we're looking for this great burst of like confetti, right? And this big moment to happen. But the truth is, it's that moment right there where all the real change happens, where all the real magic happens.
And I think too, referring to that, and I love that. I know I love that example. I use that example all the time. And one of the things for those of you that are listening, if you feel like, you know, I keep coming back to who I am now instead of more to who I want to be. And it's the stories that we tell ourselves. And so one of the two really quick things, Dr. Joe Dispenza, right? I love this analogy. He uses the way that we identify. He doesn't use the word identify, but he definitely uses thermostat, right?
Okay.
And so the way that we identify with ourselves is really similar to a thermostat. Like if you set the temperature in a room to 71 degrees, no matter how hot it is outside, the thermostat will pump cool air to make sure that it stays at 71 degrees. No matter how freezing cold it is outside, the thermostat will pump warm air to make sure that it stays at 71 degrees. Now, our identity works the same exact way. It's automatic. So what happens is if you're set to toxic, if you're set to disbelief, if you're set to negative, even if you want to get out of it until you actually change the temperature on the thermostat, meaning until you actually change the way that you identify with yourself, you will either self-sabotage to bring it back down or you'll kick it into high gear to bring it back up, right? And so one of the things that were the biggest opportunity of change for me was to understand where was I my own poison, and doing the work of like where inside of my childhood. And so I challenge those of you that are listening, and just to share a personal story. You know, when I was a young girl, I was a tomboy. I was dirty. My when I was 10 years old, my dad ruptured a disc in his back. My mom I have 7 brothers and sisters. My parents love each other a lot. And kind of all bad, right? My parents love each other a lot. My mom had a full-time job, was going to school full-time, taking care of all of us kids
No
and our
wonder
children.
she is the MVP. Oh my
Yeah, the biggest MVP. And so
God. Shout out to the
it was a struggle, right? It was a definitely, we went from a 2 family income household to one. There was just so much struggle that I saw so much resilience inside of my family. And so I say all of this to say, my dad was oftentimes like downstairs. He didn't really come up a lot. And my mom was gone a lot. And so I didn't have, not gone a lot, but she wasn't like on me, like clean your room, right? If there were roaches in Canada, I would have been the cause of having roaches in the house. I kid you not. I brought food in the room. It was old, nasty food. It was so disgusting. It was awful. I was dirty. Now I say all of this to say that when I was 10 years old, there was a girl in my class. I'm going to call her Jane Doe. And she was beautiful. She was athletic. She was super fast. She could play the piano. She could sing like a bird. Like she would have these parties at her house and everything was perfectly placed at her house. And her dad was a police officer. Her mom was a stay-at-home mom. And to me, 10-year-old eyes, I was like, wow, this girl has a perfect life.
Perfect, right?
And I wish I had a perfect life like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked her one day if she wanted to come over and play. But I gave her the disclaimer. I said, I'm not clean like you, but I really want to be. And at this time, I cleaned my room to the best of my ability, which was not very clean at all, right? Like it was just really just stuff pushed out of the way of the middle of the floor, right? Maybe there wasn't as many dishes. Like it was just gross. And so I asked her and I gave her the disclaimer. Will you come over and play? Will you come over in this? But again, like I really want to be clean like you. Can you teach me how to be clean like you? And she was like, girl, no problem. Like, yeah, I'll come over. She came over to my house. The next day when I went to school, she told everyone how dirty and disgusting and nasty I was. Now, this is the thing. 10-year-old Sarah, in that moment, I didn't know until I was 28 years old. I created a story that said, if I let you in, you'll betray me. Now, that's my thermostat. My identity was set to, if I let you in, you'll betray me. Now, the thing about our stories are subconsciously, we will seek people, opportunities, relationships, all of the things, experiences that validate what we think is true for us. And so I have been engaged twice. I was almost paralyzed due to domestic violence. I had been done wrong in the past by every female friend I had had in the past. There are so many things, but I was at the point of all of my pain. I was my own poison because although that story served me back in the day, that doesn't serve me into adulthood. That was a form of me protecting myself. And I had to learn that story so I could shed off that layer. And so one of two things happen when we create these stories. Number one, you have a limiting belief. But number two, you have another thing. I can't think of the name right now. But what came out of that is now I'm like OCD clean, which is actually a blessing. You know, like all of my labels face in one direction. I get my parents came to stay here for a week. And I'm like, I'm just buzzing around my mom while she's cooking in the kitchen. And she's like, baby, you don't have to clean up after me. I didn't even notice that I was doing it, right? Like I noticed when people touch the microwave and they put their fingerprints on, it's weird. I'm just all bad at this point. However, that happened because in the past, I also created a story of no one's ever going to be able to call me dirty again. No one's ever going to be able to say I'm nasty again.
Right.
You know, and so I say all of that to say for those that are listening, where are you your own poison? Where is your thermostat set to a toxic behavior or characteristic? And it goes back to your inner child and loving on your inner child and forgiving yourself for letting yourself down. And I had a whole breakdown. I literally at 28, it's all my fault. Oh my God. It was something.
Right in this very office.
Yep.
Right in this very office. Both women. Let me tell you, Sarah, that moment for me came because someone had introduced me to a video talking about speaking to the inner child in you. And And now this is before I even gave myself a chance of even saying I'll talk to a therapist, right? Because from Black homes and from the hood, we ain't talking to nobody. Therapist
Right.
going to
I'm
do that.
strong. What do you mean?
Right. What do you mean?
I'm good.
Go to a shrink? Who you calling me crazy? Now,
Right.
like now it's beat.
Right.
But, what happened was it was a reaction to where I kept believing about myself. At that point, I kept believing like I couldn't do it. Right? I kept telling myself I couldn't do it, and like you said, in that space I couldn't. But I took that with me forever. I took that with me from the childhood all the way up to my adulthood. And excuse me. Once I got into therapy, it helped a lot. But once I was able to really, really just realize, like, yo, I'm not that anymore. I'm not that, and what that was is a part of who I am right now, and that makes me more confident, right? That gives me the strength to go on right now because life happens, right? Like life is going to happen regardless, but because I've been through so much, I have the ability to move forward right now.
Yes.
Man.
Yes. I'm big on can I tell one more quick story?
Listen, you can tell as many stories you want. Like this podcast right here is literally I'm excited about because I cannot wait for the world to get their hands on it. Like
yay.
it's so for real, Sarah, because when I needed it most, I was searching. When I needed help in this area of my life, I was going to people in places that couldn't help me. And that was the most frustrating thing in the world.
Right.
Like, I'm a person with no father, right? A young Black man with no father. I was searching for validation in every sort of toxic way possible.
Right.
I'm looking for validation between knees. I'm looking for validation in drugs and street life. I'm looking for validation in scenarios where it put my life in jeopardy.
Right.
And all those things did for me was get me in trouble, right? It didn't validate me. It wasn't until I started speaking to that little boy. And let me tell you, Sarah, when I sat down and spoke to that little boy in this office, I cried my behind off because of how long I've hurt him, right?
Yeah.
How long I hurt that little boy by not just validating him. And there's no one else can validate him other than me.
Period.
I'm the validation that little boy needs.
Yes.
Oh man, it destroyed me,
good.
and then it rebuilt me. Like it broke me down because emotionally I was like, yo, no wonder I couldn't cry for years. I couldn't cry, Sarah. Like I'm getting teary right now because now they always flow now, but I couldn't cry like that. It was crazy. People in my life passed away. I seen people get shot and killed, and it didn't affect me. And I was saying to myself, there's something wrong with me. I cannot be this callous as an individual, but I had not taken care of the little boy. So I'm gonna digress so you can tell your story right now because I got mad emotional just now.
No, I love it. And it's the truth. And how can you not get emotional when you're connected to something that matters so much? So thank you for your transparency and vulnerability. I love it. But one of the things, and again, like I already know you got it handled. I'm always talking to those that are listening, like the newest person in the room.
I'm still, girl, don't overthink me. I'm still in the room learning, listening.
But one thing that I'll say is that, when it comes to, so I just launched this audiobook, right? And it's called An Ultimate Self-Love Guide. And it goes into the principles that I believe are self-love, which is like self-respect, self-worth, self-discipline, self-appreciation, self-control, all the things, right? And it goes into actionable steps with like worksheets and things that you can do to work through your own thing. And so I'm kind of giving away some stuff that's inside of my book. Doesn't matter. My book is $7.
Like we're gonna put that in the notes and all that where they can find this and go.
Okay.
Well, absolutely.
And it's a $7 investment, and it's the best investment I think anyone can make. Done is better than perfect. Just so you know, that was my whole mindset in getting it done. Is done the information. Okay, just listen to the information. But one of the things that I have gotten such feedback on inside of my book is, I tell a story about how if those of you that are listening to imagine a little boy, right? Or not even a little boy. Imagine a young child, an 8-year-old child, and the child's mom and dad have just separated for various reasons. They can't work it out, but they just worked out visitation, right? And so I don't mean to be stereotypical, but I'm sure we can all just imagine this. Let's say the child is waiting at dad is coming on Friday at 6 p.m. to pick the child up for the weekend, right? And so the child is waiting on the couch, looking at the window at 5:30, like, ooh, dad's about to be here, right? Dad's still not there. 5:45, he's like, oh, the child is like, oh, okay, no problem. Like I'm early, I'm just waiting, whatever, right? 6 o'clock comes around, dad's not there. The child's like, oh, okay, well, dad's a little late, no problem. It's all good, right? 6:45 comes around and the child's like, oh, dad's still not here. I wonder is dad okay? What's going on? I don't understand. 7:30 rolls around, dad still isn't there. And those questions start to turn into statements. It's less of why isn't he here and more of he doesn't care about me. And these types of things, and it's not the first missed pickup, let me be clear, but it's the continuous again and again and again and again and again, where it gets to a place where the child doesn't even care when dad says that he's going to show up because the child has lost trust in dad. Right? So by 8 o'clock that night, when the child is crying, snotty nose, blotchy face, mom manages to take the child off of the couch, bring him to bed, and everything is going to be okay. But the same thing continues and continues and continues to happen. The child loses all trust. The child loses all expectation. And sometimes the child will start to form stories that say, if dad doesn't respect me, I must not be respectable. If my own parent doesn't care about me, why would anyone else care about me?
Right.
And thus these stories are what we start to form into adulthood. Now they formed a point to protect us at the time, but they don't save us or protect us into adulthood, right? But we carry them into adulthood. Now, if you guys are like, Sarah, what are you talking about? This is the thing. We are the child and we are the dad. We are the hopeful and we are the disappointment.
Wow.
How many times have we set, me included, I'm saying we, right? How many times have we set New Year's resolutions to quit on them by April? How many times have we said, you know what, I'm not going to date this kind of person again? How many times have we done and said all of these things just to go back and betray again and again and again? And it gets to a point where we don't even trust ourselves anymore.
Right.
We don't have an expectation or a standard for ourselves anymore. We start to respect ourselves a little bit less because we're constantly letting down that inner child who is us by being the dad or the mom or whoever who is also us. And so the only way to repair trust with yourself is to have integrity with your word.
Yes.
Is to do what you say you're going to do, is to keep those promises to yourself, even when you hate it.
Right.
Look, I have a brain game and it keeps track of like your, like how many days, the streak that you have, right? I lost my streak over like first of all, I do it in the morning. That's my thing. It's a part of my morning. I missed the morning and I was like, as long as I get it done before midnight, and then this happened and that happened and this happened and that happened. And I was like, those things are going to happen. You just have to get back into the streak of being consistent, have compassion for yourself along the way, know that we're not perfect. We are actually human, even though some of us think we're superheroes, right?
Right. Newsflash.
Newsflash. We're human. But just go from there, have compassion and like truly, you can apologize to you. You can write letters to you. You can do all the things for you. You can do the healing for you. But there is no better apology than changed behavior.
Facts. Like I've heard it before from my wife.
Yeah. Facts.
Because no, the serious truth, like, because we can say we're sorry, right? We can sit here and apologize to the little boy and the little girl and this, I'm so sorry. But the truth is, there's nothing better than a sorry with the action change to it, with actually action applied to no longer do that behavior again. That's the best apology there is in the world.
Period.
Oh, man. And let me tell you something. The more I'm able to get in touch with the little boy in me, the more I'm able to heal others.
Yes.
Right? This is why the position I'm in now. And this is why I explain to everybody that coach, I'm not better than anyone else. Like, only difference is I found out a little bit more information before you did. Like my journey just brought me to the information before yours did. That's the only thing that's different, because I'm still going through it. The same way, Sarah, when you were saying just now, I'm taking notes. I can't wait to go back and sit here and go through this video because I'm going to really sit here and digest it. Because I've learned that the day I tried to stop learning, right? Because I felt like I couldn't retain a lot of information. That's the day I really stopped caring about my life. And that was when everything started going bad.
Yeah.
But the day I said, you know what, I'm going to constantly learn. I want to be better than I was yesterday.
Yes.
Like, I'm not trying to be better than everybody else, because before, as a man, we have this thing where we have to be better. This alpha thing, we have to be better than someone else.
Right.
I'm so infatuated now with just being better than who I was 24 hours ago.
Superpower. That is a superpower.
Man, like,
I agree.
Let me tell you, I'm running the race, and I don't care who's next to me. Do you know, this is my shadow. I'm facing the shadow right now. I'm not worried about y'all. The shadow's keeping up right here. I'm not worried about nobody else.
Truly. And one thing that I feel like it's been like the last 2 years, maybe a little longer. I'm really passionate about books. I'm really passionate about learning. Like, I play 2 different brain games a day. I just want to develop myself and be my best me.
Yes.
And I've probably read 300 books. I probably ingrained like 25 of them into my who I am as a human being, because I've listened and read them so many different times. But one thing that I've learned is the more that I know, I really don't know much at all.
Facts. But yo, isn't that's so dope and scary at the same time? Like, it's like, yo, I feel like I learned that. I really learned that I knew nothing about that to begin with. Okay.
Yeah.
It's exciting and humbling at the same time.
Right. There's just so much. There's literally just so much information out there. And even when you get out of when we get out of the self-help, then it's like spiritual, then it's awareness, then it's consciousness. Then there's so many different areas. And I literally just started approaching, what if everything is a miracle, even the bad, you know? And when we start playing with those things, I don't know anything. I know as much as I know, but it's really not that much.
I know what I know in this moment. That's how I see it, because everything changes, right? And this is why I'm so keen on now, especially not listening to my emotions. I'm in touch with them. I vibe with them, but I'm not allowing them to control me anymore, because they're fleeting. They will trick and change on you.
Every time.
I was just pissed off earlier. I me and an individual got into it, and I was like, you know what? This is one of those days I'm just gonna have to forget about it. And I said, wait a minute, I got a podcast tonight. And then just coming on the call, the energy shifted, and all that's wiped away.
Yeah.
So if I was banking on that energy, right, the negative energy that I was in, if I was banking on it, I'd be broke right now, because it's gone. You know what I'm saying? Just that fast, that energy switched. So I'm so glad to have you on this platform, because you've truly indeed blessed me in my heart. So I know for a fact my viewers and anyone else out there that comes across this content is going to be blessed in a major way. So do me a quick favor before you get up out of here. Let the people know where they can find you and how they can support you.
Yes. So Ms. Sarah Fontenot is on all platforms. So MSSARAHFONTENOT. So it looks like Ms. Sarah Fontenot, but it's not. It's Fontenot, y'all. Okay, it's Fontenot.
No, because let me tell you, that's the reason I wouldn't say it, because I was Fontenot or Fontenot. I don't know.
Don't pronounce the T. The T is silent.
Okay.
Yes, and then through my link on Instagram, you can get connected to my website. If you do want to get the Ultimate Self-Love Guide, it is $7, and it comes with so many awesome things. It comes with worksheets. It comes with a Whole Foods guide. It comes with workouts that you could do from your house. It literally comes with so many different things. You can always upgrade. There's a few upgrades in there. It is a funnel. But literally and truly, these are the methods and the tactics that I live by. And my entire life is a representation of what I talk about, because I'm not one of those people that teach and don't do it. I live what I talk about. So I'm just so honored and so grateful to have this opportunity to share with you today. And I love what you're creating. And it's the same thing. Your information is always so powerful, is always so clear, concise, leaves an impression and an impact. So thank you. Birds of a feather flock together. And I am truly honored to be a part of the phalanx. You know, I feel like when geese fly in that V shape, it's called the phalanx.
Yes,
and it's like, you got to be able to trust that the next geese or goose behind you, whatever, can take your spot, and trust that we're all going to the same place. And so truly, birds of a feather flock together. I am a reflection of you. So thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to share today.
Man, this has been for me. I can't even explain it, because this creating this podcast, approaching you, and doing all what I'm doing right now is actually me working on me, right? Because I didn't believe, Sarah, really quick, is like, I didn't believe that I had the ability to do anything I'm doing right now 2 years ago.
Wow.
Like, just 2 years ago, I had a needle in my arm feeding my family through my plasma.
Wow.
Like, I didn't, none of this existed, not even in my mind, Sarah.
Yeah.
Like, like if someone would have told me that this would be me right now 2 years ago, I'd be like, yo, listen, can you just give me $20 so I won't have to steal from Walmart?
Right.
Like, that's all I could care about. But
Sheesh.
here I am now 2 years later, is to say, yo, God is good. And I just want everyone to be able to just see this and understand, like, yo, you can do it. Because I didn't believe I had anything to do, or I had any value to offer to the world. But I got around the right people, like you said earlier. I changed my environment and just was open, had an open mind to say, you know what, where I am right now is not where I want to be.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know I could change at that point. I just knew I didn't want to be where I was at.
Yes.
Just to see now that I have the confidence, right, to approach you. Say, you know what, Sarah, do you want to come on a podcast? And like this, and I ain't gonna lie, it blew my mind. You were just like, yeah, sure. I was like, wow.
I follow you though. Like, I know you got good stuff.
It's the self-doubt, right? It's the imposter syndrome that says you're not worthy. You're not yet. You don't have what it takes. Yeah. But it's like, in no actuality, that's not the truth. Because the truth is, I'm more than a conqueror, right? Like, that's the truth. The truth is, before the tinkle in my daddy's nuts, I was already predestined to be great.
Yes.
So all those thoughts are second guesses. And before we get up out of here, for the viewers, the worst thing you can do is second guess God.
Oh, come on.
The first thought you have, where'd you get it from? You didn't create that. It was a gift to you. Our thoughts are not ours. Good, bad, or indifferent, they're given to us. But what happens is, when we have one of those thoughts, we allow our human being, right, to second guess the creator of this being. Yeah. Which is nonsense, because the creator of the universe hung the stars in the sky, the moon in the air, and we still can't even figure how our bodies operate and function.
Right.
And we have the audacity, right, to second guess God. Right. So I'm gonna leave on that note, guys. No longer second guess the first thought, because the first thought was the divine one given to you by God. So, Sarah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Over. And everyone out there, wherever you are, listening, checking this out, stop what you're doing, give Sarah a round of applause, because she came through and poured. Like, I truly, myself feel refreshed. So I know for a fact someone else out there feels the same way, and they're having a breakthrough. So everyone understands. At the end of the podcast, we leave on a note that says this: confidence is all about how you see yourself. Don't forget that. It's not about how somebody else sees you, but it's about how you see you. Yes. But until the next time I see you, or we see you, be good to yourself and the people around you. But if you can't be good to the people around you, that's okay too. Just get those people from around you. Yo, this is RJD, the Imperfect Gentleman. This has been Uniquely Confident Podcast. Y'all be blessed, because we will. Peace, y'all.